Hello students, I hope you are all fine and in good health. Now, I already started discussing a new chapter, rather to say a new poem. The poem is Childhood. In my previous audio presentation, I gave an overview related with this poem where discussed the intro part of this poem, and also I discussed the summary of this poem. Now, in this audio presentation, I will discuss the line wise or stanza wise explanation of this poem so that it will be clear to you. Now, not only the stanza wise explanation I will do, but I will uh, say some meanings also related with this poem. So, as you can see, it is written at the top, Childhood Poem Stanza Wise Explanation. Now, dear students, let us come to the very first stanza and see one thing you will find that at the very beginning of the stanza, there is a question. As I already told you previously in my introduction part, and when I discussed the summary, that he was desperately searching his long lost childhood, and it was not possible for him to come to a definite conclusion regarding that. So see, at the very beginning, at the very first line, he asked a question, when did my childhood go? See, it is written, when did my childhood go? Then there is a interrogation mark or interrogative mark, we can say. When did my childhood go? Was it the day I ceased to be 11? 11 means 11 years old. That means when I was no longer 11 years old, probably at that time only I lost my childhood. As I told you, that he came up with numerous assumptions without coming to a universal or unanimous conclusion. So let's continue. When did my childhood go? Was it the day I ceased to be 11? Was it the time I realized that hell and heaven, remember, hell and heaven are both contrasting elements and both are exactly different from the other. Was it the time when I realized that hell and heaven could not be found in geography? Actually, could not be found in geography means could not be found in geography books. Or maybe this is assumption number two, that he thought that when he realized that hell and heaven, the adults used to talk about hell and heaven. So practically, when I grew up, when I started learning geography, at that time maybe I haven't found this hell and heaven, the existence of hell and heaven. So maybe when this realization came to my mind that there is practically no place as such like hell and heaven, maybe I lost my childhood at that juncture. This is another assumption made by the poet. So let me come to it. Was it the time I realized that hell and heaven could not be found in geography and therefore could not be? Was that the day? That means he is not sure. He is actually asking himself, or maybe he is actually stating his own thought process to the readers also. Maybe he is saying that it might be that day or it might be that occasion only when I realized that hell and heaven could not be found in the books of geography. So maybe it was that day only when I realized that I had already lost my childhood. Now, there are some important meanings that we have to read out, or rather, we have to go through before I come to the explanation part regarding stanza number one. First one is go. Go actually here means end. And as you know, cease. Cease means to stop, but cease to be means stopped being. And realized actually means to make out or understand. So, two assumptions are being made in stanza number one. Assumption number one on the part of the poet is that he thought that when he was no longer 11 years old, when he grew up to be 12 years of age or 13 years of age, maybe he realized that he had already lost his childhood because he grew up and he is more than 11 years old. So when that realization came to his mind, maybe he thought that at that phase only I had lost my childhood. And another one is that when he realized that practically speaking, hell and heaven doesn't exist in the geography books, but previously the adults, or they actually made him realize the existence of hell and heaven. But when he grew up, when he became educated, when he started learning geography books, at that time he haven't found any existence of hell and heaven. Maybe when this realization of non-existent of hell and heaven when he found that there is no existence of hell and heaven in the books of geography, maybe he is thinking that at that time only he lost his childhood. But he is not sure about it. As I already told you previously only, he drew up many conclusions. He came to many assumptions also, side by side. So now, dear students, let me come to the explanation part so that it will be more clear to you as I go through the explanation part. See, the poet wonders. Remember the name of the poet, Marcus Natten. The poet wonders when he lost his childhood. He reflects that perhaps it was the day when he crossed the age of 11. Yes, when he grew up to be more than 11 years of age, maybe he thought that at that moment only he lost his childhood. Maybe it was the stage. Stage, dear students, stage, another synonym of this is phase, PHASE. Maybe it was the stage when he realized that the concepts of hell and heaven, about which he had been taught since his childhood, did not exist in reality. But yes, this is the awakening, the rational awakening on his part, because when he went on reading the geography books, practically speaking or frankly speaking, he haven't found any existence of hell and heaven. Maybe when he found that there is no place as such like hell and heaven, then only he realized that he had lost his childhood. And childhood childhood phase actually went by when he realized that in reality hell and heaven does not exist or did not exist. Geography textbooks did not give the location of any such places. Yes, I think it becomes more clear now. Actually, when he realized that geography books, he doesn't give any such location of places like hell or heaven. So when this awakening, rational awakening came to his mind, he thought that perhaps at that stage only I had lost my childhood. The poet realizes that he might have lost his childhood when he gained his rational outlook. I was talking, dear students, about rational outlook, about intellectualism, about rationality, about thought process, awakening of thought process, reawakening of thought process also you can say. So I repeat this line. The poet realizes that he might have lost his childhood when he gained his rational outlook due to getting educated. Now, education is knowledge. Education is knowledge, and if someone is illiterate, that means that he is ignorant. And see, when he got educated, and when he received education and knowledge regarding geography also, he found out that there is practically no place like hell and heaven. So when this realization came to his mind, all because of his education, all because of learning geography books, because of his rational outlook, when this realization came to his mind, practically speaking, he thought that maybe at that moment only I lost my blissful childhood phase. Now, dear students, I am moving on to stanza number 2. Again, it started with the same interrogative question. When did my childhood go? Again, some assumptions are being made by the poet. Was it the time I realized that adults were not all they seem to be? They talked of love and preached of love, but did not act so lovingly. Was that the day? Even the last line is also similar to the previous stanza, because in the previous stanza also it was written, was that the day? That means he is not sure, but as I told you, he came to many assumptions or presumptions. So in this stanza we get to know about the deceitful nature of the adults, that the adults are actually hypocrites. They talk of love, they preach of love, but their actions, they never match up with their words. I repeat, their actions are different from their words. They talk of love, they preach of love, but when the real situation comes, they don't act so lovingly. So it seems that they have a double-sided mentality, a double-faced personality. So when this crooked nature of the adults, the poet realized, or when he realized that they are actually hypocrites, they are not good Samaritans, they are actually hypocrites. So when this realization came that the adults are actually deceitful human beings, he thought that maybe at that stage only I had lost my childhood. So these two lines are very important, dear students, that they talked of love and preached of love but did not act so lovingly. This shows that they are double-faced individuals. They talk about something, they preach about something, but in their act or in their actions, they do something else. So there, it seems that their words and actions are not matching up. And there lies the hypocritical nature of the adults. There lies the deceitful, cruel, crooked mentality of the adults. Now, when it was totally been exposed to the poet, he realized that perhaps at that time only I had lost my innocent phase of my life, that is the blissful phase of my life, that is my childhood. Now, as I told you, few word meanings are given, and these word meanings are very important. The first one is seemed. Seemed means appeared. Priest actually means taught. Act means behave. And lovingly means with compassion or love for others. But the adults, they are actually crooked minded individuals. They are deceitful creatures. They are hypocrites. They show that they are very compassionate, full of the milk of human kindness, generous, but their actions are totally dissimilar from what they preach and what exactly they talk about. Now, when that realization came, maybe he thought that maybe at that moment only I had lost the most peaceful and the blissful phase of my life, that is childhood. So now let me explain this stanza. It will be more clear to you all. In this stanza, the poet reflects that maybe the loss of childhood occurred when he was able to see through the hypocrisy of adults. Yes, now this is very important. When he realized that the adults are actually hypocrites, then only he realized that he had lost his childhood. Previously, he was unable to see through the real nature of adults because he himself was a child. But when he was able to see through the real nature of the adults, then he realized that he was no longer a child. He had already grown up into an adult. These people followed double standards, dual mentality. As I already told you all when I explained the lines, that double-faced personality. And it seems that here also it is written double standards, dual mentality, actually following and preaching different standards of behavior. They are following something else, they are preaching something else. Okay, they are talking and preaching of love, but their actions mean something else. They act in a different manner. That means they are double standard. They have double standard personality. That means they are hypocrites. They are crude and crooked individuals. They told the poet to be loving and caring. However, they themselves were argumentative, violent, and discourteous. Now, they actually gave many wisdom related knowledge to the poet, that you have to be loving, you have to be very caring, but they actually behave in a different manner. They themselves are very violent, they are aggressive, they are argumentative in their behavior also. That is, their action and their words are not matching up. Now, when this realization came to the poet's mind, he realized that I am no longer a child anymore. Their behavior was a far cry from the love they sermonized about and advocated so reverently to the child. Now, reverently means with lot of compassion, with lot of respect. Now, it seems that, as I already told you, that their words and actions, they never matched up. They talk of love, they preach of love. That line is important, as I told you, dear students, that they used to talk about love, they used to preach about love, but they never acted so lovingly at all. Perhaps, says the poet, recognizing broken trust was a major step towards adulthood. And it seems that his trust in the adult world, it was totally shattered when their actual face, when their deceitful nature, when their true colors were exposed to him. And when the trust was broken, that means the adults that were hypocrites, their true colors, their actual mentality, their actual double-faced personality, all these things were exposed to the poet. Now, with that exposure, he realized that he grew up and he was no longer a child. Now, I am moving on to stanza number 3, dear students. See, it is written, when did my childhood go? Again, the same question. Was it when I found my mind was really mine, to use whichever way I choose, producing thoughts that were not those of other people, but my own and mine alone? Was that the day? Now, this is a very, very important stanza. Now, he is saying that when I can, maybe it was at that time when I lost my childhood, when I had full control over mind and I can execute my thought process, I can manipulate my thought process in my own way, when I can rationally interpret which are the good things, which are the bad things in my life, when I can produce my own thoughts, when I have a separate personality, distinct personality of my own, when I have my own self identity. Maybe when I found my own self identity and when I realized that I can execute my own personal thought process in my own way, maybe at that time I have lost my childhood. These lines are very important, dear students. Was it when I found my mind was really mine, to use whichever way I choose, producing thoughts that were not those of other people but my own and mine alone? Yes, now when I went on thinking rationally, when there is individual, when there is a growth of individual thought process in my mind, when I have a my own self identity, when I discovered, rather to say, when I discovered my own self identity, maybe at that time only I have lost my childhood. But he's not sure, so he's saying the next explanatory statement, was that the day. Now, really mine, it means when not influenced by others' opinions. Maybe when he used to execute his own thought process, as I told you earlier, maybe he realized that at that moment only I had lost my childhood. When I was not influenced by others, I can influence my own self by my own thought process. And when that realization came to me that I can influence my own self by my own thought process, I can execute my own thought process, I have my own self identity of my own. When I discovered it, when I explored it to a great extent, maybe at that time only I had lost my long lost blissful childhood. I lost my childhood maybe at that stage of my life. Whichever means anyway. Producing means creating. And thoughts means views or opinions coming from the poet's mind. Thoughts means views and opinions coming from the poet's mind. So obviously when he has his own distinct views, individual views, when he can use his rational mind in whichever way he can, when he can execute his thought process, maybe when this realization came to his mind, maybe at that stage of his life, he had lost his childhood. Now, dear students, I am moving on to the explanation part so that it might be more clear to you all. The poet asks the same question again and again, as we can find in the first three stanzas, because as I told you in the intro part also previously in my previous audio presentation, that he went on with lot of assumptions, but it was very difficult for him to come to a unanimous or universal conclusion regarding his long lost childhood phase. Now, the explanation part, it is like this. The poet asks the same question again and again, but with different options. He is trying to guess when he actually lost his childhood. Perhaps it was the day when he realized that his mind could think independently, forming his own opinions and being able to take his own decisions. When he was able to take his own decisions, when he can form his own opinions without getting influenced by others, maybe at that time only he realized that he had lost his childhood forever. He gained his own sense of respect, his sense of self-identity. He discovered his self-identity, that is a sense of individuality, which set him free from the preconceived opinions of others. Now, this sense of individuality finally separated him from the opinions of others. His own individual opinions and experiences shape his thoughts now, and he realized that this might have been the time when he lost his childhood innocence completely. Now, he realized that probably that is the time only when he lost his childhood innocence completely, when he can execute his own plans on his own, when he can rationally manipulate his own mind, when he can control his own thought process, when when he listened to others less, and when he had his own opinions instead of taking others' opinions. So when this realization came to his mind, maybe he lost his childhood at that juncture. Now I am moving on, dear students, to the penultimate stanza, that is the last stanza. By this time, one thing you will notice that in all the stanzas it is written, when did my childhood go? Isn't it? And one important common line was the last line, was it the day, isn't it? But now you see in the fourth stanza, the question format changes. Instead of when did my childhood go, it is written where did my childhood go. That means in which place it went. Previously, he made assumptions when did it went, but now where it went. So when did my childhood go? It went to some forgotten place, oblivion, forgotten place. That's hidden in an infant face. That's all I know. That means it went to some place of oblivion, or it went to an unknown place. But whenever the poet visualizes, or whenever the poet come across a small child or an infant child, it seems that he remembered his long lost childhood every time when he sees a small child. See this line, that's hidden. Hidden means it was concealed in an infant's face. That's all I know. That I may not find my childhood, but whenever I see a small child, an infant child, I can feel it that my childhood is hidden there somewhere in the face of an infant. So some meanings are very important. Forgotten means forgotten, unremembered. Hidden means, as I told you, concealed, kept out of sight. Infant is a small child or a newborn child. Now explanation, let us come to the explanation part of this, dear students. In this stanza, the poet changes his question. As I already told you, previously it was when did my childhood go? Now it is where did my childhood go? That means specifically now he is talking about the place, where did my childhood go? The poet now wonders where his childhood has gone. He reflects that maybe his childhood has gone to an unremembered place, that is, a place of oblivion, or we can say forgetfulness. The poet also says that childhood can be found in the innocent face of a child who does not have any pretensions and rationality and who trusts others unconditionally. Yes, now childhood can be found in the face of a little child or infant child who actually is very much innocent. And innocent means a little child or infant child is close to God, who does not have any sort of pretensions and rationality, and who trusts other conditionally. Others means the adults. But when a child realizes that all this trust and other things are misconceptions, when he realizes that the adults are hypocrites, and when he realized that hell and heaven, they have no existence at all, maybe at that time only an individual becomes an adult, as we can notice in the case of the poet also. So let me come to this line once again. The poet also says that the childhood can be found in the innocent face of a child who does not have any pretensions, who can't act in a deceitful manner, because a child is a simple innocent child, and who trusts others unconditionally, because since the child is innocent, he is not aware of the deceitful nature or the crooked nature or the hypocritical nature of the adults by that stage of his life. In other words, a small child is full of innocence, close to God, full of innocence, and there one can find one's own childhood. And obviously there one can find the source of one's blissful state of existence, that is childhood. Obviously, where? In the face of a infant child, or we can say in the face of a newborn child. So dear students, there lies the explanation of the four stanzas. Kindly listen to this audio presentation, and if there is any doubt, any problem whatsoever, kindly let me know about it. Thank you, students. Thank you all.